Some people might think Daniel Cormier is just a fat kid that lost Popeyes, but no, he's a double champion in the UFC in the two heaviest divisions, but somehow still a lot of fighters are not putting the respect on his name, and fans as well are not respecting him the way they probably should.
I need to put some respect on my fucking name.
Why I think that is, and all about it in this video. Hello and welcome to Bloodsport MMA.
Salam alaikum, my brother.
We all know the video, like, come on. I'm all about that cake and chicken.
I'm all about that cake and chicken.
DC does make a lot of content, or has made a lot of videos, appeared in videos, whatever, that are very funny, where he kind of doesn't take himself too seriously. We also have to mention he's in front of the camera a lot with all the podcasts he does and shows for the UFC and whatnot. The more time you spend in front of a camera, the more clips of you can surface where you just look like a weirdo or like a guy who just doesn't take himself too seriously, right? Which is something positive at the end of the day, that DC blesses us with funny content like that. I mean, this video lives in my head rent free. It's one of the funniest things ever.
Don't do that. Don't show that. Too much pressure.
But it can have an effect that some people will not take you that serious anymore, which is what I think happens to DC, and that's just one of the reasons. And the other reason is also, yeah, as I said, he appears in so many podcasts, talks about the UFC all the time on several different platforms and whatnot, and he there says a lot of times DC comes out with some weird takes or just takes or statements where the average UFC fan is just like, bro, what the hell are you talking about? Also during his commentary, he sometimes says a lot of nonsense, even though the majority of what he says, especially on commentary, is great. He brings great value into the commentary team when he talks about the wrestling part and whatnot. And he's a double champ. He has a lot of experience, right? But a lot of his MMA takes are pretty, how should I say it in a nice way, discussable. Like most of his takes that he has, especially in the UFC pre-show, for pay-per-views, the weigh-in show, they sometimes have like, make your top 5 list of whatever, best strikers ever in the UFC, whatever. And DC is the type of guy to put Khabib Nurmagomedov, he didn't do this, but he's the type of guy to put Khabib Nurmagomedov in his top 5 strikers of all time list. You know what I mean?
That's fucking Khabib.
DC just always comes out with the weirdest takes, and that's obviously why, and I understand that as well, I give him shit for that as well a lot of times, why he gets so much shit online for things like that. Now, but what we have to see is, giving someone shit for someone's takes is one thing, and that is completely okay with me. I'm completely okay with giving someone shit for takes that you don't like or just disagreeing with them, but doing that in a respectful way, especially with a guy like Daniel Cormier, is very important. But because of the first thing that I mentioned, because of all the fun things, and he seems like a guy who doesn't take himself too seriously and whatnot, people tend to then be disrespectful to Daniel Cormier when disagreeing with him, right? And that's where the problem lies. People seem to forget, and I probably have said something somewhere in the stream or something as well that was pretty disrespectful.
You suck. Boom, roasted.
I mean it more in a fun way. I will never disrespect DC in a serious note, but it's fun to make fun of him in a way, you know what I mean? As long as you keep it playful. But that's exactly where the problem lies. And also DC does not really, I understand it because he is a employee of the UFC, of ESPN and all those things, so he's not allowed in a way to go after those guys, you know what I mean? He has to act as a professional, which can be to his detriment, because then people are like, he doesn't do anything about it, we'll just keep on talking about him. And he sometimes gets frustrated and angry, but he can't really say anything or too much back, but you can see that he gets angry with it, and it bothers him. And what does a bully like? When it bothers you. So they just keep on going after him, and I think some of the young bucks also haven't, because you have to see, most UFC fans, not me, but most UFC fans came to the UFC during COVID, and that was the end of DC's career, right? So most of those guys have never really seen him fight and don't really know what kind of a badass DC is, because DC could whoop all those guys' asses. And not only the fans, I'm just talking about the fans right now, but let's also talk about the fighters. So many fighters disrespecting DC as well. They just seem to forget who he is, and that just because he keeps it nice with you and is not trying to disrespect or go in a back and forth trash talk on Twitter with you, that he could still whoop your ass. Joaquin Buckley, best example. Joaquin Buckley just hasn't really ever learned, I think, how to be respectful to the older generations. Because yeah, he sat down with DC and they squashed everything and stuff, but still, like, you should never even get to that place in the first place. You could see in that interview as well that DC was still not happy with him. You just don't talk in a way like that with Daniel Cormier. You just don't, especially if he didn't do anything to you in the first place. He's an analyst. He has to analyze what you do. He does that. Just because he doesn't say everything that you do is perfect, doesn't mean that you as a fighter should now go after DC and, I don't know, call him some kind of names or whatever, or disrespect him.
I beat you after a weekend of cocaine.
And prostitutes.
It's just nonsense, because at the end of the day, if you see him face to face in a room where no one is in, where there's no cameras, he will whoop your ass. As long as you're not John Jones, he will whoop your ass, you know what I mean? DC is one of the what was I trying to say? One of the baddest guys that ever walked the surface of the planet. He could whoop 99.999999999% of the population's ass, including all of your fighters up to 205 pounds. You know what I mean? Even though he's 40, I think he will still whoop their ass.
One opinion.
So we all have to kind of look at ourselves and be like, are we too disrespectful to DC? Because we have to put some respect on his name. It's totally fair, in my opinion, to make fun of him. I love to make fun of him because of Popeyes and all of that and whatnot, but all on a funny note, and keep it respectful to the core and respect what he did for our sport. Your takes still suck, DC. Write your opinions on it in the comments, you guys. What do you think? Am I wrong? Should we be disrespectful to Daniel Cormier? Is it just a goofball? Write in all the comments, you guys. Make sure to like this video, subscribe to this channel. I would appreciate that. Check out the Bloodsport merch, bloodshop.net, the best merch in the industry. Worldwide free shipping with the code FREE, so check it out. Appreciate that. Link is in bio, in the description. Stay bloody, you guys. Until the next one. Bye-bye. Bloodsport out.